If they running their mouth, then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge, now they back in the huddle. See, they know we can fight, new content every week. Me and Dr. Clyde, keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we driven, and they know we quitting. Yoshi and the winner, keep on bringing the energy. Unity. See, they know we ain't stopping, and they know they got problems, and they ran out of options. If they know got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Bring back learning, Afrocentric history, we see tomorrow. Karma's karma, I say what I say, I hear underwater. Till I see I fall off, then I bring y'all up on note. I'm back up on my Clyde winners, 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 Clyde winners. Divine winters, Clyde winters, mind bender, Clyde winters. I'm Richard, ride with ya, master teacher, create masters, Clyde winters. Give respect to the elder, Clyde winters. Somebody out there living for me. I told you somebody out there looking for me.
I've not told lies. I've not stolen food. I was not stolen. I've not fornicated with the fornicator. I've not caused anyone to weep. I have not dissembled. I have not transgressed. I have not discussed secrets. I have brought no lawsuits. I have not wronged the population. I have not struck kill. I have not transgressed the law. I have not been hunted. Except when I'm talking about on the tongue. I have not made extolling, I have not bragged. I have not cursed, I have not been violent. I have not confounded truth. I have not cursed against
Dr. Winter's legacy is a testament to the power of knowledge and the unyielding spirit of exploration. His impact is felt worldwide, as he shares and enlightens at conferences, symposiums, and collaborative projects. His voice is a beacon in the academic world, challenging, inspiring, and always educating. His journey reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never-ending, and its impact is timeless. Dr. Winters teaches us to challenge the narratives and to learn with an open mind. As he always says, B1 is not a group, it's a lineage. Let his story inspire everybody to pursue knowledge relentlessly and to always seek the truth. Now let us welcome in the grandfather of research, the Trill OG himself, the Honorable Dr. Clyde Winters.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? Hi, family. You know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? Well, I'm going to tell you what time it is. Today is Thursday. And on Thursday, we have what? We have Black History Gems. Yes, Black History Gems. I'm here to give you another interesting product of our history, an interesting product of our history, so that you can, in a sense, learn something new. Karen has written in the chat, she says, I'm here, Dr. Winters, the researcher. I want to hear the real Black history on History Gems Thursday. Yes. She's here for Black history. And Curtis says, peace, Dr. Winters. Yes, sir, Curtis. Curtis pen is very interesting because Curtis Penn, what he did is that he was able, in a sense, to show me the writing on one of the ancient Egyptian artifacts. So Curtis is a very interesting researcher. He's a person who's out there to spread knowledge and give power and understanding to our people. Yes, we need knowledge, we need power, we need understanding, and this can only come. Yes, it can only come from trying, in a sense, to learn and know who we are. They hide from us a lot of our history. They hide from us, in a sense, our greatness. But I'm here every Thursday to do what? I'm here every Thursday to tell you aspects of our history so you won't be lost. Yes, yes. It's easy to be lost. How you doing, Denise Bryant? Denise says, "Hi, Dr. Building on thanks to you." All right. Thank you, Denise. Karen, what up, though? Again, Curtis Penn says, "Dr. Still Building, thanks to you." All right, thank you. It's knowledge out there is power, but again, as I said, it is so many interesting facts about our history, but it's so much of our history that we don't know. And every day I look at the fact that people like the president, is out to try to, in a sense, make people lose any knowledge about who we are. The president wants to encourage us, in a sense, to sit back and ignore our history, sit back and just think that we're waiting for them to help us. They're not going to help you. They're not going to help you. They don't want to see you have anything because they hate foundational Black Americans, because they know we built this country. And not only did we build this country, is that we, in a sense, gave this country a culture. Yes, yes. When Europeans came here, what they want to do is they want to bring their culture from Europe over here. See, because of the fact they wanted to bring their culture from Europe over here, they never bothered to make an American culture. And as a result, American culture, the culture that the whole world wants to be part of, the whole world emulates this culture. The whole world emulates the language, the words, the meaning, the style. It came from us because Europeans wanted to transplant Europe here, and they couldn't do it. So we stepped in and we gave America culture. We gave America, in a sense, a way of being. We made America, in a sense, the most stylish country in the universe. And everybody wants to be like us. Yes, everybody wants to be like us. Yeah, I remember when my children watched Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, Teresa Miller, that's cool. Me and my grandson, that's how we bonded. We bonded over Dragon Ball Z. And I still look at them sometimes. They got a few things on, but again, like I said, is that it's something to make you understand that there's roots, there's culture, and we had to try our best. I know sometimes I used to be kind of busy. My son even said, well, my son said all I did was research, but I didn't just research. But luckily, when my grandson was born, a lot of times we used to like to look at anime, and we used to like to look at various things. Even today, I still like anime. I still try to look at a good anime show. Hunter x Hunter, and a lot of other videos that I look at. But again, in a sense, is that it's all about knowledge. It's all about who and what you are. But today we're going to talk a little bit about FBA music. And I want to, in a sense, talk about FBA music, but I want to give it a certain slant. A lot of people, in a sense, they've said that they always try to pretend that everything that foundational Black Americans do is basically of African origin. No. I'm sorry to tell you this, is that it's not all of African origin. There were a few Africans brought to America, but people forget that that America stopped importing Africans direct from Africa after 1808. That doesn't mean that they weren't still sneaking African slaves into these United States, but they didn't officially go out and kidnap Africans or buy Africans to sell on the market here after 1808. As a result, most of the people who became, in a sense, foundational Black Americans were of Aboriginal origin. Yes, yes, we're of Aboriginal origin. And that's one of the reasons why I think this whole Irish background is one of the reasons why we, have found an affinity with the organ. Black people have always liked organ as opposed to the piano. And I think a lot of that came from the fact is that as Black Irish used to like to do a lot of organ music and other things like that. But we forget in a sense that Black Irish had the harp, they had the violin, they had in a sense, various instruments, and we sometimes forget because they constantly want you to believe that everything came from Africa. All of our history did not come from Africa. All of our, in a sense, culture did not come from Africa. Our food, our drink, it didn't all come from Africa. That's a lie. They made that lie up because they want us, in a sense, to believe that everything came from Africa so that we won't be demanding, our rights, or demanding the money that they stole from us, or demanding that they give us back the land that they took, And so it's very important that we remember, in a sense, is that we weren't all from Africa. Like Karen says, and this is so true, Karen. Learn real Black history and teach it to your children before they leave the house to go into the school system and hear the watered down version. That's right, because they're not going to give it. They're not going to give it to us, And Karen says to the B1 family, greetings from Karen. Karen is here every week when I do my Black History Gems, and I really appreciate her support and the support of the rest of you guys out there, Teresa Miller and others, And thank you so much for Curtis. I support all of you guys. Love you so much in terms of making people aware of what's going on, letting people know, in a sense, that that we do have this great history and this great culture. FBA music is unique. It is a combination of Black Irish, African, and Aboriginal roots. Much of the foundation of Black Americans who were enslaved on the plantations as early as 1625. The main Irish instruments are the flute, the fiddle, tin whistle, the low whistle, Uilleann pipes, the accordion, concertina, bellrum, and the harp. Yes, these are all traditional Irish instruments. And see, we forget that that the first slaves in America were not in a sense Africans. The first slaves in America were Black Irish. And what they did is that they cleared out Ireland. They cleared out Ireland of just about all of its blacks. And when Oliver Cromwell cleared out Ireland, what he did, in a sense, is that he sent these black people. He sent these black people, in a sense, into the Caribbean and into North America, and it was here, in a sense, that these Black Irish, in a sense, as slaves on the plantation, along with Black people from Africa and Aboriginal Blacks, that they began, in a sense, to develop our music, to develop the music that became the American music. That's one of the reasons why, when you talk about FBA music, you cannot just focus on Africa, because very few Africans were brought to America, United States, as slaves. We have been taught a fake history of slavery in the United States. This fake history claims that all FBA came from African slaves. This is a big lie. This lie was taught to us to try and inculcate in us genetic cowardice. Yes. They want us to be cowards, and they want cowardice to be not only, in a sense, a trait that is among a few, but they want to make cowardice genetic. They want cowardice to become a part of our being. What is genetic cowardice? Genetic cowardice is the inculcation of fear of white people while seeing other Black people as the enemy as a result of white supremacy. Yes. They want you to hate they want you to hate Black people, but they want you to see white people as superior, and they want you to feel that you should always cater and do everything to white while hating yourself. In African colonies and the Caribbean, whites were a minority. As a result, they served as lords of the land. They allowed their slaves to inflict punishment over their fellow slaves. This ingrained in many colonized African and Caribbean people the idea that the white man was a demigod, all-powerful, while the Black people who punished as slaves or served in the militias in Africa were the real enemies. Yes, yes, yes. Because of the fact, in the sense that they always use black people as in the intermediaries, then that made, in a sense, black people feel that the real enemy was other black people. You see, when really behind the scenes it was the European who was controlling their behavior. The first chattel slaves were Aboriginal blacks and black Irish and Scotsmen. In the USA, there was a different organization of the slave plantation. You had the master, the white overseer, and Negro driver. Thusly, the driver might administer punishment upon their fellow slaves, but it was clear to the rest of the slaves the driver was forced to administer the punishment. This arrangement resulted from the fact that the chattel slave in the USA began as Aboriginal people defeated in war by the settlers of black Irish and Scotsmen defeated in war after 1649 in Scotland and Ireland by Oliver Cromwell. As a result, the slave master could not count. I repeat, as a result, the slave master could not count on Aboriginal and Baradanak slaves to punish their kinsmen. Baradanak is just a phrase to refer to, in a sense, of the British slaves. The first Saharan Africans that came to the USA were POWs, enslaved as a result of slave raiding. The European ancestors of the FBAs were descendants of the black Celts and Moors that had lived in the British Isles for thousands of years. Other black European ancestors of Afro-Americans were the German, Dutch, and Portuguese. The black Irish were either exterminated by the English or sold into slavery. In proclamation of 1625 by Herbert L. Bird, reported that King Charles, yes, King Charles, sent 30,000 black Irish prisoners into chattel slavery in Barbados, Montserrat, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, and the 13 colonies of North America. That's why they always had this conflict. There's this conflict where they say that the Irish were slaves or that the Irish turned black. But see, you mainly hear about the Irish. The Irish they're talking about is the second migration of Irish to the Americas. These Irish that came after the 1700s. These Irish that came out the 1700s were white Caucasian people who had took over the lands of the black Irish after the black Irish was sold into slavery. You have to understand this. It was two different Irish populations. The original Irish population was black, like you, like me, like us. The later population that came over here was, in a sense, white Catholics. Other Irish slaves were sent to Guyana in 1629, Antigua and Montserrat in 1652. By 1637, 69% of inhabitants of Montserrat were black Irish. African slaves were not the first slaves in the British Caribbean and North America. The first slaves were Aboriginal black Native Americans and black Irish. The black Irish slaves usually had to sail to America for 9 weeks from the British Isles to reach the Caribbean. The trip across the Atlantic was harsh, and many of the black Irish died of scurvy, dysentery, and dehydration. To save money, the black Irish were just tossed into the sea after they had succumbed to some of these illnesses. Large numbers of black Irish slaves were sold into Caribbean slavery. For example, 50,000 black Irish slaves a year were sold into slavery in the New World between 1652 and 1656. Cromwell and the Bristol merchants sold 100,000 Irish children as slaves in Virginia and New England. Remember, in a sense, is that Oliver Cromwell and meant the British generally, they were Protestants. They did not like the Catholics. The Irish were Catholics. As a result, they felt it was their duty to kill. Yes, to kill. The British, although they were black, they were very savage people. You see, and Europeans have been savage. Period. I don't care what nationality, race they are. They're savage people, very bloodthirsty and stuff. When the British began to colonize the United States, there were still many black Englishmen under Oliver Cromwell. This is supposed to be a picture of Oliver Cromwell riding his horse. A black Englishman, Oliver Cromwell was the governor of Ireland. Oliver Cromwell was the son of a nobleman, and he enjoyed a strict Puritan education at the College of the University of Cambridge, and then studied law in London. In 1640, Cromwell was a member of Parliament and became a leader of the Puritan opposition to King Charles. Under Cromwell's leadership, he had over 100 victories over the Irish. They killed thousands and thousands of Irish. Yes, this is again Oliver Cromwell. When you look at him, I mean, hell, he looks no different from, in a sense, some of the black people today, some of the black people in the past. Here we see, in a sense, this Caesar. Take a minute to look at this. Take a minute to look at this picture and check it out, because it's very interesting. And you may learn something from this picture. So take a minute to check it out. Like there's Miles Davis, Chatterman, and Oliver Cromwell, and you can see that that Negro character among all of those people, in a sense. So it's something that you can think about. So this coast, and here we have Miles Davis, Chatterman, and Oliver Cromwell. This shows the continuity of blacks in the British Isles from 12,000 years ago, dating to the time of Chatterman, all the way up to 1650. So you can see it was a continuity in terms of these black people that lived on the British Isles. Oliver Cromwell reconquered Ireland in 1649. He hated Catholics. He massacred 3,500 in the first battle. The rest were sold as slaves to 13 colonies in the Caribbean. These Irish slaves were sold in high numbers between 1649 and 1653. In fact, 100,000 Irish children were sold as slaves in Virginia and New England. Here you can see on the right-hand side, you can see a picture of some of the Irish, soldiers taking some of the British Protestants taking the Irish babies and throwing them into the water to drown, or just spiking them with spears and killing them. Yes. And if you notice, it's very interesting that this is an authentic piece from the time. And if you look at this picture, you can see that most of the Englishmen at that time were light skinned, and whereas they show the Irish women as being dark and the children as being dark. Very interesting. And this goes back to that period. As a member of Parliament, he became commander-in-chief. That's Oliver Cromwell. He led armies of the Parliament of England against King Charles I during the English Civil War. He also reconquered Scotland and Ireland, and subsequently ruled the British Isles as Lord Protector from 1653 until his death in 1658. Oliver Cromwell began to reconquer Ireland in 1649. He hated Catholics. He massacred 3,500 in the first battle. Cromwell saw slavery as a perfect way to remove the Catholic blacks from Ireland and Scotland. Cromwell usually worked with Bristol merchants to sell as many Irish into slavery between 1651 and 1654 that he could. In fact, during that period, as many as 34,000 to 40,000 Irish Roman Catholics were sold as slaves. Cromwell forced many black Irish to serve in his army. Instead of freeing these black Irish men were forced to serve as mercenaries. They were sold by Cromwell to be placed in armies across Europe, especially France and Spain. Oliver Cromwell reconquered Ireland in 1649. 100,000 Irish children were sold, and this is very terrible, but again, they did this. They also allowed slave traders to kidnap Irish people. During the 12-year suppression of the Irish, Cromwell sold around 300,000 black Irish as slaves during these wars, and many of them were later settled in the 13 colonies. Between 1651 and 1660, around 130,000 black Irish were sold into slavery in the Caribbean. African slaves were not the first slaves. Again, the first slaves came from the Caribbean. There was an interstate the Atlantic slave trade. They brought slaves from Europe and then, in a sense, from Africa and Europe too. And they brought these slaves, and then they would get cotton and other foods, tobacco, rice colonies, and things like that. Many sick Irish slaves were thrown into the ocean to save money. Although Cromwell can be credited with the exile and extermination of many blacks in Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. Cromwell, in his war to reconquer the Irish, sent black Irish to the Caribbean in 13 colonies. I quote, to perpetuity as slaves on the sugar plantations. Remember this word, perpetuity, that means forever. Don't get it twisted. Some people, in a sense, say that the Irish, in a sense, were not slaves. They're talking about a lot of Irish. They're talking about the Irish that came in the after the 1600s. These later Irish, in a sense, were not the real Irish people. These were white people who had conquered Ireland, and had taken the names and estates of the black Irish who had been sold into slavery. You see. In 1650, for example, 20,000 black Irish were sent as slaves to Barbados. Very few black Irish were indentured servants. After the Battle of Worcester, 10,000 Welsh blacks were sent into slavery. Yes, they had them as slaves. These were slaves. FBA culture is based on black Irish and Aboriginals who were enslaved on the plantation. The black Irish influenced the American music. They, in a sense, they brought in a lot of things. Blues, bluegrass, folk music, country. All this originated among FBA. Yeah, we reinvented music over here. Raphael Otto said that blues songs sound more similar to Irish laments than they do to Yoruba chants. Yes. A lot of times we've been compared to Yoruba, but no Yoruba were slaves in America. Yoruba were mainly slaves in Brazil, maybe if you're in the Caribbean. The vast majority of slaves in the Americas were either Aboriginal blacks or they were blacks that came from, the Mandi-speaking blacks, the Guinea blacks. FBA music is unique. It is a combination of black Irish, African, and Aboriginal roots. We find in a sense that there were many Irish running around the country. For example, here's some ads for Irish runaway slaves. Runaway from a subscriber living in Lancaster, a native Irish servant woman named Katie Norton, who came from the county of Wicklow in Ireland last fall. She's about 25 or 26 years of age, of a dark complexion, has black hair, talks in the Irish dialect, rocks in her walk, and is pretty sharp in talking. Again, so you can see these slaves. Here's another one from the Virginia Gazette. Ran away the 8th of July last from the subscriber living in Westmoreland County. 4 serving men, these John McHugh, Francis Mann, Daniel Fitzpatrick, and John Freelove. John McHugh is an Irishman, of middle stature, swarthy complexion. His hair is just cut off and is a blacksmith by trade. He has one of his arms a bleeding heart, picked with gunpowder, and a name at length with several other letters he had on when he ran away. Another person was Francis Mann, an Englishman of middle stature, swarthy complexion, short brown hair, and yellowish rotten teeth. Speaks quick and full mouth. He goes a little lame and says one of his legs has been broke. So again, as you can see, there were a lot of Irish slaves. FBA music is a unique combination, though, of black Irish, African, and Aboriginal roots. Right? Yes. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Everything in our heritage, everything in our culture did not come from Africa. Between 1630 and 1660, 300,000 black Irish were sold into chattel slavery to work on the farms and plantations in 30 colonies. These black slaves included many musicians. September 25th, 1650, there was a proclamation ended by Ormond against Tories and wolves, the Catholic priests. Schoolmasters and minstrels were put in the same category as wolves and were outlawed. In 1654, as a result, harpers, pipers, and wandering musicians came to the 13 colonies as slaves. This is how FBA became familiar, so-called European instruments. These Africans, in a sense, were familiar with these instruments already. Yes, they had already been playing these instruments in Ireland and Wales and Scotland before they were forced into slavery. Don't get it twisted. Don't get the black Irish mixed up in a sense with the white Irish that you see in Ireland today. They're two different groups. The black Irish were made into chattel slaves. These black Irish were not, in a sense, just playing the drum. Stop, 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 stop. Stop believing everything that you heard and learn. Learn what our real, true, authentic history is all about. The enslaved black Irish explains why the plantation dance painting from South Carolina circa 1790 featuring the banjo and calabash is identical to the Irish jig. That is way they get it all. Here's some black Irish, and here's some Aboriginals and Africans doing a jig. You know, it's probably that's probably where we got the Soul Train line from. Was doing these jigs, you know, from our black Irish ancestors. And then, you know, we always danced around the fire. FBA dance styles were black Irish and Aboriginal. Yes, 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 yes. These dance styles we got from our ancestors. We got them from our Aboriginal ancestors and our black Irish ancestors. Yes, yes. That's why, you know, I thought about that years ago. Is that a lot of times over here, if you notice, Africans, they do a lot of stomping and a lot of dancing around. But if you notice, foundational black Americans, we like to do a lot of footwork. And I think this footwork was a result of the black Irish, because black, you know, Irish like a lot of footwork. And probably the black Irish who would have been the original Irish, they probably brought the footwork over here. That's one of the reasons why you find a lot of foundational black Americans like footwork. Again, in the sense that don't forget that many of our names that came from Ireland, and these names, in a sense, are in the Handbook for Survival, the Black Americans Handbook for Survival through the 21st century. And there you find many names: Crawford, Winters, all that. And these names, in a sense, because these Indians, or Aboriginal people had these names because many of the first slaves had been black Irish, and these black Irish, you know, their descendants, when they mated with black Indians, you know, would carry the names of their parents, their fathers and mothers. You see, the original Irish people were black. Later, Caucasian serfs began to adopt the Catholic religion and culture of the black elites who ruled Scotland and Ireland. William H. Granton Flood, in the history of the Irish music, noted that Magritte noted that. See, they noted in the sense that it was clear that many of them were black. They noticed it, you know. There's the Crown of Winters, you know, all the winters. It is clear that many of our surnames are black Irish and Scottish origin. We did not get all our surnames from our masters. You know, a lot of people, they forget is that why would your slave master want you to have that name? They look down on you. They felt in a sense that you were inferior to them. So no, we didn't get our names all the way from our slave masters. No. We didn't get them, you know, because many of us had already brought our names up from those of us who had our Irish ancestors. The original Irish people were black. Later, Caucasian serfs began to adopt the Catholic religion and culture of the black Irish, who ruled Scotland and Ireland. William H. Granton Flood, in the history of Irish music, noted that no words can substantially describe the horrors of the Carolingian rule from 1650 to 1660. The pages of Friedman, Gilbert, and Moran supply sickening details of that dreadful period. Yes, it was a very dreadful period. Cromwell hated the Irish, and it was these black Irish that gave us, in a sense, our love of the organ, love of music. And now we're very musical people today. But this did not all come from our African heritage, because many of us, yes, we do have an African heritage. Much of that African heritage goes back to 25,000 BC. There were some African slaves that were brought over here, but the vast majority of our ancestors were black Europeans, you see. And just like these young black people who are in a choir or love of music, that's where we are today. We still love our music. We still love our black music. We still see our identity in our blackness. Yes, 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 yes. That's who we are, you know. We have to, in a sense, stop always feeling that inferior. Stop always feeling, in a sense, is that you have to, in a sense, always look towards these other people. You know, how you doing, Sister Janice, Karen Benzin, and Teresa Miller, Ollie Davis? What up, dude? You know, thank you guys, in a sense, for coming. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video. And again, this video was just to teach you a little bit more about our history and a certain aspect of our history. I'll let you know, in a sense, that our music is unique, but there's a lot of uniqueness to our music based upon how we got these sounds and how we try to, in a sense, make sure that we can get these sounds going. Yes, yes, yes. Very important that we understand this. Today is today. We need to homeschool our children due to white supremacy. In many states, education departments are passing laws to deny our children from learning the history of foundational Black Americans. Today, you can learn how to organize and teach your children in a homeschool in my book, A Guide to Homeschool Foundational Black Americans. You can use my book, History of Blacks in America from Prehistory to 1877, to teach our children their history here in the United States. You can use my book to teach world history. And this book I've written is called The World History of the Black World. This will teach your children about every Black civilization in the world. Get this book. The time is now. Get these books to teach your children about their greatness, to prevent them from losing confidence in their own ability to learn and be successful future adults in employment and education.
Free your mind, let it go. To the top, drop it to the floor. Take energy, come at like whoa. Spring water, how did that go? Free your mind, let it go. Tap in, go, let it nigga know. Hey, let it nigga know. Let it nigga know. Energy, come at like whoa. Spring water, how did that grow? Free your mind, let it go. To the top, drop it to the floor. Energy, come at like whoa. Tap in, go, let a nigga know. Hey, she told me go and put it in her heart. I told her I don't wanna break it all apart. Let me be a night light in the dark. Hey, my nigga shine bright with the art. Gemini 2 time, know it's hard. Got the stars on the line with the charts. Big dog, so I gotta leave a mark. Free your mind, cause I know that's smart. Hey, energy, got my light walk. Spring water, had a
in Mexico. Atlantis in Mexico. Atlantis in Mexico. Atlantis in Mexico. Time travel in a book. Go far in a book. When is the last time you spent bread on a book? Knowledge given in a book. Benefit from a book. Create a movie from a book. Create animation from a book. Atlantis in Mexico. Atlantis in Mexico.
also teach valuable lessons. The Bloom, bedtime story for the young at heart, takes your child on a magical journey to ancient Kemet, where the goddess Sister Andito brings life, love, and healing. Through this enchanting tale, your child will learn the importance of nature, compassion, and positivity, all while discovering the rich history of Kemet. It's a story that inspires self-mastery and love for the world around them, making it the perfect bedtime read for little dreamers. Available on Amazon now, The Bloom not only nurtures young minds, but also supports the FBA community. Grab your copy right now and give your child the gift of adventure of learning. Order The Bloom today on Amazon. Thank you. Hotel.
Supplemental learning for your mini. But you can learn too. Don't send your mini into the belly of the beast unarmed. Courses, practical math, language, the code, our story, and more. An institution founded by us, dedicated to us and our fight for justice. Here you will learn ways to combat the system using the same information they are trying to keep away from you. Welcome to FBA Sunday School.
The only thing that can save you is be one, be one, be one. To fight Cage, you must stay black.